Do you guys do your own post on Home Sweet Home as well? You do post
Home
entirely?
Home in the app. Well, Home Sweet Home was mostly me in post. I did half of the sound design, and then we hired a friend of ours to help just make it better because he had better sound technology.
By the way, that's something that is insanely irritating in like the indie horror genre. Is the sound mix is almost across the board terrible. Like either the effects are too loud, dialogue's muted, or like it's clearly edited in later or something like that. But it was quite good in Home Sweet Home.
Thank you.
Good. I am my worst critic, and like recently we showed it in Wisconsin, and I just I couldn't even sit through it, and from amalgamations of reasons. But to me, like one of the biggest problems, and I don't think I'm taking away from it because we were super indie that went above and beyond. And now this is really an artist problem, but it's like I hear the sound, I'm like it's not full enough. It's just not there. But it's great to hear that you guys felt that way about it. To me, it's like not there.
It was nice. It was like everything. It synced well. It was like you see it like visually because I have a fucking like film tech background as well. So it's like you watch certain movies, and it's like that sync is just
right.
But you were actually very on point, very solid with your sync and
we
what you
ended up
did.
putting a lot of work into the sound.
Which is appreciated.
A lot of it. Like
and I wanted more, but we had to fix a lot of like audio recording and stuff. So where it ended up is like an amazing godsend. But
that's what I
and
think.
every
I always
musician
wish it could be further.
Every musician will tell you that no album's ever complete. At
I
some
think
point,
it's just an artist thing.
You gotta just let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we John and I even went out after we shot the movie when we were coming back and editing it. We went out to Palm Springs and like had to recreate a lot of the walking and the crowbar and the walking around a house and shutting doors. And we literally went and redid the whole thing because.
Wow.
So we put a
I just
ton.
went out with my little field recorder.
And I would throw a crowbar and I'd walk, and then we put that into Raquel's walking, and like we went and we got a lot of the cicada sound, which was really cool to add that in, and but it's definitely, I love it because it's true indie, because it was really just like John in the editing room in our living room doing the whole movie.
It's so funny because I went to college at the Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, SCAD they call it.
Yeah.
And my roommate, who was my roommate the whole way through, ended up working in Baton Rouge and got into like the film biz, kind of like I did in New Mexico. And he always said like, what I learned at SCAD I didn't need to learn. I could have just done what I'm doing now, and I could have been there. And it's funny because I have a complete opposite view where I'm like, I don't think that's true at all, because when I was in SCAD, I got to put my hands on equipment. They were like, you can edit, like you can shoot this stuff, you can do sound, like, and it was really a matter of just jumping in there and trying to figure it out. Even on Home Sweet Home, I was like learning a new sound design program. It was the Soundtrack Pro from Apple, which is a very shaky program if you get too big.
Yeah.
For small, like the app, it's fine. But as soon as you start getting big, like we had a lot of problems. But like I just had to like get in there and figure it out because we had no other option. And I think that SCAD ended up teaching me that, where it's like the more you just kind of grab hold of things, the more you'll start getting it.
Right.
And
so
it enabled us to be able to do our own posts in a big way. I mean, all of the deliverables, which is when you sell to a distribution company, they give you a list. They're like, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need it like this. It has to be like this. And it was just we just did it all.
And it was overwhelming because Image Entertainment is a very big company.
Yeah.
So even when we got their deliverables, we were kind of like, we're such an indie film that we're like, oh gosh, that's me and John have to figure this out because we don't have a post house to go to and just be like, fix all this,
But we had the advantage of an understanding of how to do it, even if I didn't. And like, granted, like when we did the editing and the sound design, there were things I could have done to make my life so much easier when it came to that, but I just didn't know, So then we had to go back into the sound design and start pulling tracks into different like places so that we could export the audio, the music and the dialogue all separate.
But now you've got the practical experience.
Exactly. Now I get that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Have you heard of a film called Bellflower?
No.
It's an indie film that my friend Evan Glaudel did that went to Sundance a couple years ago, and I have a small part in it, and I've been friends with Evan for like 10 years, and I used to run around with him with a camera, and I was always inspired just that he would just do it. He never went to film school. He was like, I'm just gonna, he built the cameras that he made Bellflower with.
Wow.
And he built a car that shoots flames, and he built flamethrowers, and this is just a kid who's like making all this stuff, and then
jealous of him.
He's insanely talented, and Bellflower was really exciting, and that was really inspiring for us for Home Sweet Home too. Was when Bellflower was starting to pick up speed at Sundance. John and I were like, we're gonna make a feature, and it was like, I think you always need people in your life that are inspiring you. That they did it, we can do it. We can all, just run out with a camera with 5 people and do it. And also we were talking about horror movies, and I don't know what we were talking about before, but I did a film called Drainiac. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Drainiac.
I think I might have just seen the name.
But we were talking about the love of watching a horror movie and just enjoying it and not picking it apart.
Yeah.
Well, Drainiac I did when I was 17 years old.
Oh boy.
Super film. You're gonna have to check
Next
out.
on the list.
We actually watched it on set of Home Sweet Home one night.
We
So we
did,
found it
'cause
in a
it was
movie
in
store. My mom rented it.
Hastings.
She's like, look what I found.
It came out with I think it was the 10-year special DVD edition. So we went and got it and we were like, wow. That movie had a huge cult following. I actually just got interviewed in the UK because this man was like, I just saw Drainiac, and oh my gosh. But it really is a throwback to just silly, ridiculous horror movies. And you know what I loved about that film? We used puppets as the horror part. It's actually really puppets.
Really?
But it's really funny because, like, as an actor back then, I got to work with something. I was working with a puppet. Where now you're just working with nothing.
I was going to say, but people don't do things practically.
They don't.
No.
And that whole movie's done practicals,
Yeah.
and the puppets are kind of not so great looking, but it was really fun. And I think if you appreciate that movie for what it is, it's like it's why people love these movies. You know,
We're gonna have to check that one out. Have you seen Thanksgiving?
Which one?
I've seen Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I've seen Thanksgiving.
If you want to talk about puppets,
Right.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
so good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, then you
Such a
might love
great
Drainiac. You guys might appreciate.
I put that one on the level of like Troll 2.
It's
It's terrible and ridiculous, but like you can't help but be like, I like it.
budget
Exactly.
of $5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's
People
beautiful.
love Drainiac. Like, even after I did it and years later, like 5 years, I'm still having people write to me, be like, oh my gosh, I love Drainiac. I'm like, wow, like, I had no idea there was this whole group of people out there that just absolutely love
I need to
these
have
kind of
I need to have that
movies.
happen to my visuals.
Right?
It needs
gonna
to be.
track that
It's
copy.
got to
You
be
guys are
in
gonna
the
have to
face.
horribly hooch it.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
a horribly hooched Drainiac.
That's actually part of the reason why we picked Home Sweet Home to be the semi-genre it is. Originally it was supposed to be a horror. It's really more of a thriller, even though
Yeah.
it's marketed as a horror, but we were like, this is an audience that is generally very forgiving. They just want to experience what it is we're giving them. And
Right.
so that's sort of why we went for that.
Yeah. When I have done a lot of horror movies as an actor, and one thing I had seen was they were pretty much all of them would get distribution. And I do think when you're starting, we feel that when you're starting off with your career, you kind of need to get into something that you know you can distribute it, and it's going to, like, a comedy is a little harder without a star name, or there's some genres that are really tricky to go after for your first time, because chances are you're just kind of learning, just like we were learning on Home Sweet Home, and
Right.
we had done a bunch of stuff, but that was our first feature as a group, and it's a great genre to do for your first one, I think, is a horror.
And that's why we like, I mean, when we first started out, we were reviewing any kind of horror, and we were doing, like, AAA movies, whatever. But when it comes to, like, indie horror projects, to do something practically well and with a poor budget, I mean, we found a group of people who are very forgiving, who are very much interested in the final product, the project overall, not going to pick you apart because you can see the boom mic and the reflection of the mirror or something like that. So that's why we like supporting indie horror as much as we possibly can.
Thank you.
This is like there's an appreciation for the actual process to make the project and what goes into it, and not only that, it's like you actually feel whether it's performed well or not. There's a feeling of like there's love on that set,
Oh
and
my gosh, yeah.
I don't care if the project's horrible, if it's horribly acted, really don't care. But it's like you guys put the time in to actually make this,
Right.
and it's there, it's
Right.
visual,
Yeah.
and you put it out there, and it's
I think you hit on something interesting too, which is that like the audience also is almost a participant in the film process because they get, it's sort of like what you just said, they get everything that went into it and they
Yeah.
love that it's happened.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I don't think there's any other genre that's really quite like that.
It's a completely different, especially
yeah.
once you get over the initial hurdle of like, there's a lot of stigma, with B level or C level or D level horror or whatever. Once you can work through that, I mean, it's really a wonderful community and creation process, which I certainly have not seen in comedy or action. Maybe action.
Maybe a little bit in sci-fi too.
Sci-fi, maybe. Yeah.
That's even, I think that even is more divided. It's either got to be really amazing or it's got to be really bad. There's not really
Right.
in between.
well, you did want a different level of nerd there.
That's That's true.
We don't have time to get into that.
What's great is that the horror genre, there's just not enough content ever. We're horror fans, and we're always looking for more. We're like, we need more. It's like you can't get enough. And Netflix
Yeah, we'll
can't
watch
have
anything.
enough horror movies.
Yeah.
And
We'll give
you're,
anything a try.
yeah.
Preaching to the choir.
Exactly, right? We're like, what
It's
we
like insatiable.
We're like on Netflix going, we've seen every single horror movie. Where are the rest we want? We need more. It's
You know, it's funny. We started Horribly Hooched a couple of years back because we were using the Xbox On Demand video rental service, and we'd been scrolling and looking for a while, and we realized we'd gotten to page 150, 1,500 movies deep, and we're like, we've seen 90% of these.
There's
We
there's
should
just
probably
nothing left.
start writing this shit down.
right? Yeah.
And it is. It's
awesome.
every Tuesday. We're looking for something new, something fresh.
And it's
you know?
literally like Horribly Hooched is the title actually matches what it is we do. It was literally we were like buzzed one night and we're like,
No, we were hammered.
yeah, we were pretty fucking shit-faced.
Let's be honest. It's just
So
like
you guys
Alright.
legitimately, you guys get together on Tuesday nights and you pick a movie to watch.
But we're roommates, so yeah, it's,
And you're
yeah.
like, let's drink and watch a movie.
well, I mean,
It's super cool. I
It's
love
expanded
it.
now. We
It's
got
awesome.
I've got a couple more writers that
Actually,
just
should we
joined.
stop recording now? We're just shooting the shit.
Yeah. You know, let me wrap this up real quick. I guess we're running a bit long. Okay, so this has been an interview with Alexandra and John of Home Sweet Home. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.